What is up, everybody? Drew Kerr and CG Ruthless here today with another Tuesday evening show for you. A little bit, it's late afternoon on the West Coast here on Central time zone. It is 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock on the East Coast, and we are going to start this off how we always do Tuesday evening with a beer review for you guys. By the way, this is a 18 and plus show, so we want to make sure that everybody who's viewing this is 18. Go ahead and like and subscribe, please, as well.
Yeah, and I'm just doing random beers, but for the other purposes, I am promoted by a different beer company. But under the circumstances, this is this is called Sapporo, which is a Vietnamese beer. I guess, like you said, it's the rice beer. So I want to give
Do you want to go ahead and plug your new sponsor?
Oh yeah, just damn, I gotta get that.
You can just say the name and then.
Okay. So I am sponsored by the Toyota Sequoia Brewing Company, which is it's a local craft beer in the Central Valley. So it's one of those. You'll see the green color. You'll see the logo of it. It's a craft beer. It's mostly popular in the state of California. You'd be surprised in different events they have them in sports and other places and all that stuff. So yeah, definitely go try. If you like those strong craft beers, you would like it.
Yeah, right on. And also congratulations on that sponsor. That's awesome. Yeah. So the beer I'm going to be drinking today is Lagunitas. They sell this pretty much everywhere. They have two main brewing locations, one in the Bay Area in Petaluma and the other in Chicago, I believe, or Illinois somewhere. Anyway, it's Lagunitas. They got a bunch of different brands. It's a stronger IPA. I've had it before, but whenever I see it, I kind of I try to get it. So really good beer. If you like IPAs, I definitely recommend this if you have not had it. So
this rice beer is good. Not too bad.
Without any more delay, we're going to jump into the breaking news of the day, which was Brandon Ayuk did report for training camp this afternoon or this morning. Per Ian Rappaport, David Lombardi did confirm that he was there, so he's likely going to hold in. I would be very, very shocked if he participated tomorrow when they actually start practicing. Hey, guys, what's up, Daniel? Good to see you as always. Tommy,
Salute.
What's up? Lagunitas is really good. I agree. He said something about the beer beef list. Yeah. For me, it's like cheap beer. That's my beef list. I don't like cheap beer.
I think he's taking reference on my beef videos.
Bebop's in here. Hey, Bebop, I did see you subscribe to my channel. Appreciate that.
Yeah, Bebop, man.
But yeah, I mean, do you have any other thoughts like on this? Do you think that he's going to hold in like Debo did?
Well, I think the fact that he's in training camp is positive because at least he's trying to get the chemistry, and he's probably going to have to because maybe this will make progress towards the Niners giving him a contract, because if he just holds out and doesn't show up, then what's the point? At least the Niners will try to talk to him, and at least they'll come into some type of terms at some point.
Yeah, I think that it's a very positive sign that he's even there. So is this Tommy, are you talking about my channel or?
I think he is. I don't know if he is subscribed to yours, but
yeah, maybe not. I'll go ahead and I'll pull it up real quick. Any other thoughts on the Brandon Ayuk stuff?
Well, we know how viable he can be. We know that. It's just, are we willing to pay him $30 million? We'll see how that plays out.
Yeah, for sure.
He was talking about your channel.
Yeah, it's 49er Sports Talk, same logo. I'm trying to find the link. I'll go ahead and try to.
Yeah, Tommy's a good guy. You'll like him. He's a Bay Area guy like you are.
Here, I'll just drop the link to.
He always performs music at the Garlic Festival in Gilroy, just to put it out there.
I love Gilroy. Gilroy is awesome. Yeah. This is this stream, so it's just going to go right to that, but the channel's right there. So appreciate you, Tommy. Appreciate everybody who has subscribed and anybody who will subscribe to both channels. We both have TikToks. We both have Twitter accounts. We both have Facebook and Instagram. We'd love to
We love the support from all you guys. And there's different platforms we do, but I feel like TikTok's another platform. But here we're trying to grow it over here on YouTube also. So
absolutely. Yeah. And every Tuesday night we do this show where we do a quick beer review of a new beer every week. I don't think that we've done any of the same ones since we started this. So we try to give you something different every week. And 18 to view, trying to keep the kids out of here, just as a disclaimer. Since we are drinking alcohol, so
drink responsibly.
An adult show. So our main topic that we wanted to talk about today is training camp, obviously starting today, and we're going to talk about some of the camp battles, some of the positional battles, and kind of go through it by position and talk about those. And so we're going to just move on. I don't think there's much else to say about Ayuk.
Nah, it's just the fact that it's just a contract situation. That's all it is. So I think it'll play out itself at some point.
Yeah, and so I built a roster earlier of starters, backups, practice squad, pup. There's three guys who started on the pup list today. If you watched the press conference earlier with John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan, they did list 3 players that started on the pup. So here's this list. I'm going to move this out of the way. And we can just kind of go position by position and talk about quarterback through right tackle, and then jump into the defense and kind of talk about some of those position battles. And so I'll just let you take it with quarterback. Obviously, Purdy is the starter, but then after that, we can just get your thoughts on that.
Well, it's pretty obvious with Brock Purdy. Okay, he's proven to be the quarterback. The fact that the media doesn't even have him in their top 10 is a joke, but he's our guy. So until otherwise. Josh Dobbs and Brandon Allen, I heard this could be a competition for the number 2 job, but really I would rarely put my money on Josh Dobbs because I feel like he has more to bring compared to Brandon Allen, to be honest.
Yeah, and I think Brandon Allen's a little bit more of a statue. Like he's kind of more of a pocket quarterback. He's not going to get out there and, get you those extra yards on an off-schedule play. So he's a little bit more of a sitting duck, which kind of I think is why they brought in undrafted free agent Tanner Mordecai. I think he went to like 5 different colleges or something like that. He's like a 25, 26-year-old rookie. I think he's older than Brock Purdy. Actually, they're at least the same age. But
he was one of the guys from Oklahoma. Then he transferred to SMU, and then he went to Wisconsin.
Right. Yeah. Was he a Sooner for a minute? I think he might have been a Sooner for a minute.
No, he was an Oklahoma Sooner. He was the backup to I believe he was a backup to Mayfield or Murray, one of the two.
Yeah, he's been in college forever. He's been in college as long as Van Wilder, like you ever seen
or the Ryan Fitzpatrick of college football.
Yeah, he's been in there forever. He's a career college player.
Yeah.
I think that that's going to be an interesting battle for QB3. I did have Brandon Allen on the practice squad, but last year we did keep 3 quarterbacks. You have to keep 3 quarterbacks to have an emergency quarterback on game day, and that emergency quarterback does not count against the 48 players who dress on game day. So they're probably going to do that again. But for now, I'm just kind of putting them as the practice squad. And I think for practicality's sake, it's Purdy and Dobbs, QB1 and QB2. It was pretty amazing to me that Dobbs went into Minnesota and learned the playbook in like 2 days and went in there and won a game. That was pretty cool to see that last year. So he's definitely a smart guy.
Yeah, and the most intriguing part about Josh Dobbs was last year he was on a bad Cardinals team and he was able to put this team into being competitive, and they were able to at least win at least 1 or 2 games from him. That's kind of like a difficult circumstances he had to go through.
Yeah. And like Jason said, he's a rocket scientist, so that's pretty impressive. He's you got to be a smart guy to do that. So. Moving on to running backs, Christian McCaffrey, no argument there. He's RB1, one of the best players, if not the best player on the team. I kind of view him as like the Michael Jordan of the team, and he just because he can do everything and he's got that will to win. But behind that, what are your thoughts?
Well, we all know what Elijah Mitchell can be when he's healthy, but I don't think this is a sure thing for him to be the number 2 running back. I think the fact that we drafted Isaac Randall in the 4th round kind of gives you an indication that maybe we're trying to push Mitchell to step it up because we know next year he's good as gone. So maybe this is what we're seeing from Garendo. Maybe Garendo can actually make that push and give us something that we've been lacking since Mostert has been gone. Then you look at
Yeah, that's a great point with the Mostert and a great comparison because they're both burners. They both, if they can get past that second level of defense and make a DB miss, they're gone to the house. So that's something that we definitely didn't have. And I don't even think Christian really possesses that kind of speed. So he does add that different element that Elijah doesn't necessarily do, but Elijah has really good hands. But so does Isaac Guerrero. He was a former receiver.
He was a receiver. He showcased that skills as a receiver. And one thing that's unique about Guerrero is if he doesn't become the number 2 running back, it wouldn't surprise me if he returned kicks too. So that's another good factor why we got this kid.
Yeah, and I think both you and I said this. It might have been last week when we were talking about the new kickoff rule that Isaac Guerrero is probably a really good candidate for that new kickoff rule because it's more of like a running back play. You have both teams on the opposite end of the field. And then you need a guy that has to have good hands because they're going to kind of be squibbing it or line drive kicking it into the zone. So you need a guy that can scoop it up and has really good hand-to-eye coordination, which I think he does. So, But behind him, you have dude, this guy made a
let's just I'm
going to keep it moving. And then so we also have undrafted free agent rookie Cody Schrader. And then behind him, I actually have him on the practice squad because the Niners only kept 3 running backs last year. Behind him, I have Jordan Mason and Patrick Taylor, who they signed as a free agent vet. So,
yeah, that's going to be really kind of interesting. I don't know, man. You know, one thing you can't sleep on is Jordan Mason, bro. I know he can't pass block, but one thing you got to admit is when Mason gets the ball, he's difficult to tackle. So he's the physical kind of running back.
Yeah. I mean, he's like baby beast mode. So yeah, it's going to be hard to. So maybe Mitchell is the odd guy out since he's not very durable. I don't know.
The only downside with Jordan Mason is the pass blocking issue. I think that might kick him out a little bit. So I think with Mitchell doesn't have that issue as a pass blocker. I think his durability has been the problem.
Yeah, and that's all going to shake out in training camp and, the scrimmage that we're going to have with the Saints, the joint practices.
Yeah.
And then in the preseason, the actual games, because a lot of these guys behind Christian McCaffrey are going to get a ton of playing time, including Elijah Mitchell. I think Elijah Mitchell is going to start almost all 3 games as the starter. I don't think Shanahan's going to mess with putting CMC out there at all. He might get 1 series for the whole preseason, but I can't see a lot of these starters getting much playing time at all for the preseason. So,
absolutely, bro.
I think Cody Schrader is going to kind of become a fan favorite very quick because he kind of has that ability like Frank Gore used to have. He sees the field very well, and he does shoot through that gap, like through the hole. As soon as it's there, he's going. Like as soon as he sees it, he's gone, and that's what Kyle likes. So Elijah has that ability. We're going to find out if Guerrero has that ability. I think Jordan Mason, for the most part, has that ability, and not sure about Patrick Taylor Jr. because
Patrick Taylor's an unknown commodity because he was on the Packers. He was on their roster when they had some injuries. I think he was mostly their reserve running back, and I think he's a big running back compared to the rest of the guys we have on our roster.
Yeah, and I do know that Patrick Taylor Jr. does have really good hands out of the backfield. I just don't know. Can he pass block better than JP Mason? Like that might be the battle there. But again, I mean, right now there's, including Juszczyk, there's 7 running backs. They're probably only going to, put on the 53 3 running backs and then Juice. So there's going to be probably 4 running backs, I think. And I think you're looking at McCaffrey, Mitchell, because Kyle's, he's dependable. With Schrader on the practice squad, and if Mitchell gets hurt, then that whole thing shifts up. But then you got 2 rookies as your backups. That might not be a good recipe either. So maybe, like you said, Jordan Mason actually gets better at pass blocking this year, and he's more of a force on that, and he can work on that and get better, under Bobby Turner. So we'll see. Yeah. It's going to be fun to watch, and it's fun to see all that shake out. So obviously, Juice is the one and only fullback, so you didn't really need to say anything there. He's going to be on the team, but maybe not next year.
I think I think we all know Juszczyk is good as gone next year because he doesn't got a contract the following year and all that stuff. And
one thing I keep hearing, like Larry Krueger and others kind of echo, is that Braden Willis is going to take over for Kyle Juszczyk. But as you and I both have discussed and know, when he was in Oklahoma, like it was more of like an H-back role. It wasn't a true fullback role. And maybe the fullback is obsolete moving forward. Maybe that's why Kyle and John Lynch drafted all these wide receivers, because they're going to go a little bit more spread. That's what Purdy feels comfortable in. And they're really going to just kind of wing him out and maybe have him kind of be like, I think you made the comparison, Delaney Walker.
Walker was a perfect example of what he was. You know, he was one of those type of versatile players, those hybrid players. And what we saw at Oklahoma was he wasn't quite used a lot. Like, he wasn't used like a fullback, like some of these Niners content creators have said. Bro, we've watched a lot of Oklahoma football. Braden Willis was called a Swiss Army knife. Like, maybe on certain package plays, you can use him as a fullback for those blocking plays because he is a willing blocker. But when you saw how he was showcased, he was a good receiving tight end. He had the ability. He kind of reminds me more of a Juwan Jennings at tight end. Think of Juwan Jennings at 240 pounds. Just a guy that loves football. But you think of him as
very good with the receiving, and very good with kind of motioning out and maybe taking out like a will linebacker. He can do that, but he's not going to he's not going to run through the B gap like Juice and just annihilate a Mike linebacker. That's not who he is. So I don't think if he does replace Juice, it's not going to be in the sense that he's going to be a true fullback.
Nah, I think the way how they're going to plan on Juszczyk's replacement is I don't even think the guys on the roster for next year. I think the next guy I think that next fullback will probably be somebody in the draft or somebody through free agency. I don't think when you look at Braden Willis, he's not going to be playing fullback. He's going to be playing more of a tight end. Everybody just doesn't like. If anybody who watches Oklahoma football, they would know Braden's a true tight end. He just does the dirty work. The big difference.
Yeah. And so moving on to wide receivers, unless you have anything else about like Juice. I mean, like, I was kind of disappointed that Jack Coletto went to the Steelers, that they picked him up.
He was a good project.
I was like, that guy is perfect to replace Juice, but he is very smart, just like Juice, and kind of got snatched up from our practice squad. And that's some of the danger some of the risks that you run with putting these guys on the practice squad, especially on a Super Bowl caliber team. They're going to get snatched up. So you got to be very strategic with all this stuff. So let's move on to the Z. Debo. A lot of people think that Ricky Pearsall is going to wind up being the Z. He can do some of those jet sweeps and stuff like that. He's not going to nobody's going to do it to the level Debo does. So if the Niners do have to move on from Debo next year, I'm not really sure. And then Ronnie Bell, obviously, I've got those 6 as my 6 receivers making the team, and you can disagree with me and add those, but I've got Connolly and Taylor because I feel like they're safe on the practice squad as backups to anybody on that thing.
I would say I agree with you because of their experience. Like, Connolly is a guy that's got speed. He can do a lot of different things on this offense, but Taylor's got the most savvy experience. Like, if you need him to be your punt returner and be a guy that can hold on to the ball or be like your reserve slot receiver, Taylor's got that experience. So I'm not going to disagree on that part.
Yeah, and then Ayuk, obviously, I think they're trying to get him in there. I don't know if who knows? Maybe we don't know yet, and he's agreed already to play on the 5th. I seriously doubt it with all the antics that's happened in the offseason, but who knows? Maybe he's like, okay. One thing, actually, Jesse Naylor brought this up. Give him a shout out. He had a show last night that he did independently, and I thought this was a fantastic idea, is doing similar what they did to Christian McCaffrey and restructuring just this 1 year, right? Like, pay him because there's cap space right now. So front load this whole deal, give him a really good 1 year contract. So he's sold in, he's goes out there, balls out. If he gets a ring, that only helps his cause financially this year. And if he gets a better stat line and all those kinds of things, I think that helps him in the long run. So I think that if they can work something out like that and then maybe franchise tag him until they can work out a longer term deal, that could benefit everybody, right? Like, everybody's happy. Niners are happy because he's in camp. He's happy. He's got his money. And then they can come back to the table next year. What do you think about that?
Oh, like, when you look at it that way, like the way you were saying, those kind of give us the beneficial of it. We kind of look into how we develop our players and the way they play that role. I think we get a step ahead of those positions going forward.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think Brandon, obviously, he's going to play at some point. He's going to
get his contract. Yeah, he's going to get his contract, but
Yeah.
the fact the Niners are like ahead of the game a little bit, like I think they kind of like look at it this way. Like we know Brandon Ayuk's very viable, of course. He can run the routes. But when you're able to draft somebody that can do exactly maybe similar, maybe not as close as Ayuk, but you can at least get somebody who can fill that production. So maybe with
you're talking about Pearsall?
Yeah, maybe with Pearsall, you might get that production in year 2 or 3, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, so that's kind of been the debate is like, where does Ricky fit? Is he, because I think he can do all three. I think he could be a slot. And I think that actually is going to be a battle between, as much as we love Juwan Jennings, like he's third and Juwan, right? Like he's automatic. But on first and second down, maybe you don't put Jennings in there. Maybe Jennings is your like third down specialist, and Pearsall gets those reps and gets that game experience and can get you the stuff that you need on first and second down, and maybe comes in like a Cooper Kupp or a Puka Nacua and just like is an immediate force. I mean, obviously he's starting the year out on NFI and he's got the hamstring issue, and those things can sometimes linger. I think it's just a tweak. I think he tweaked it because, again, you're going to have to go back and watch the presser. You said you haven't watched all of it, but
yeah,
one of the things
check it out. I want to get a chance to check out the rest of it, but I see what you're saying. Like a lot of it says itself, when you think about how this is like, the one thing that you told me about behind the scenes was Shanahan actually stood up for something that was kind of like interesting, like the fact he was able to like say something like hilarious, which I got to check that out later.
Yeah.
But yeah,
in this instance, he was talking about, or maybe it was Lynch. It was either Lynch or I can't remember who said it, but one of them said that Ricky was going to miss probably the first block, which is only 4 days, and then ramp up week 2, which will be next week. So in block 2. So to me, that kind of just suggests that it's like not a super serious thing. Like he might have tweaked something, and he obviously did it away from the facility. But anyway, yeah, so I don't know. Our comment section's getting a little bit wild, so maybe we need to think about having a moderator or something.
You need to have a moderator for sure, but it's okay. We all got our fans, we got a little bit of those closets. We got stalkers, we got creepy fans, it's all right.
Yeah, it's all good, but we do need to minimize that so that people can come in and talk football and not go nuts. Yeah. But anyway, Jacob Cowling is the other guy, I think. And so I've got him actually behind Juwan Jennings because I think he's more of a Tank Dell slot receiver type. So those are my 6. I think Danny Gray and Tay Martin. Tay Martin and Tariq Owens are going to be the 2 guys. Maybe Danny Gray also for that third practice squad spot. Maybe.
Yeah.
What do you think about it?
I think it's going to be
the fanboy in me wants Tariq Owens to like be the next Terrell Owens.
Of course,
not going to happen, but I'm really rooting for that guy. I really hope he balls out this offseason.
I hope so too, man. I really hope so, but I don't think he's going to make it. But I think for Danny Gray, it's going to be a little uphill battle because there's going to be some bigger competition. Last year, he was definitely sure to make the roster, but the previous years, he just had to showcase what he wasn't. So you look at it this way. It's going to be tough, but I think Ronnie Bell might be the guy you don't want to bet against because what he did in the preseason, that might be a little underestimated what he did. What if he makes a showcase to be the last receiver on the roster? He might be the most hungriest player.
This is where, so if we're past the receivers, do you have any other stuff to talk about receiver related?
Nah, I think we've covered the receivers. I think we know what we're getting with each of those guys. I know with Jennings, we already got a reliable slot receiver, of course, but Jacob Cowling might be the most I think Jacob Cowling's the one that's going to probably push Danny Gray off the roster, I think.
Yeah, and so for me, this was probably the hardest position to like really figure out, and I think it will be also for the 49ers. And the reason why is because we do have a lot of receiving tight ends on the roster, and was talking about this with a buddy of mine earlier. Like, how are you going to get that blocking? Like the blocking that Charlie Warner did, Chris Saubert could do it. He's not great at it. I think that Warner was actually better PFF graded for run blocking than
he is.
And so we're going to lose that. We're going to lose that tight end 2 blocking element if we go Logan Thomas and Braden Willis because they're more receiving type tight ends. And then
But,
you're putting Kittle in a bad position because Kittle's your star player, and now Kittle's going to have to keep doing the dirty work. When he's getting older, you kind of don't want that.
I mean, he's kind of like your sixth offensive line, to be honest. But I think you kind of forget, isn't Braden a willing blocker? So I think he's more of a proven blocker than some of the other guys. I mean, Sobert's got more experience, of course, but between him and Warner, that's a little different situation. So that's like the blocking element is where we're going to probably miss the most. But I think with the experience with Braden and I think you'll see a lot better from Braden's production as a blocker because he got an opportunity to play with more snaps and showcase himself like, hey, I can do this and I can be your other receiving tight end and all that. I think he might make up for that production.
Yeah, well, and the biggest thing is going to be obviously camp. When the pads go on, you're really going to start seeing who's emerging because there's really good feedback from a lot of these beat reporters and stuff like that in OTAs. So for Braden Willis was balling out in OTAs, but is he going to do that in camp when everything's real, when the bullets are flying for real, when the pads go on? I think he will too. And obviously we both favor him for obvious reasons.
I know it seems kind of guilty, but we know what he can do. That's the difference. I mean,
yeah, we've seen him. He was like the only star at Oklahoma. So,
I mean, if it wasn't for the fifth year, maybe he wouldn't be drafted where he's at, but still, I think he showcased it with that opportunity. And I think if you give him a chance, he can be something special. So,
yeah, it was surprising to me to see him go
number 2. I think he's number 2. Yeah, I think he's number 2 easily.
But Logan Thomas
has experience, of course, but he's not quite a blocking tight end. That's the only difference.
I don't think we're going to see a whole lot of 2 tight end sets.
Nah, I think we might do, like you just said, 4 receiver sets almost.
Yeah, go a little bit more 4 wide. Like give Purdy his comfort zone. The Patriots did that a lot toward the end with Brady because he couldn't move. But if he has 2 slot receivers, you got Jawan and you got Ricky taking up those slots, and then Debo, you can move him all over the field. It doesn't matter.
Yeah,
you can motion him out, and that's going to throw the defense off. It's going to tip their hand. So there's a lot of things that I think Kyle Shanahan can do with all these chess pieces.
Yeah, there's a lot of the chess piece we can use into, like, we know what Kittle is as a blocker, so he could be like our 6th offensive lineman, but we don't want him to be that way. But it does kind of give us more openings with potentially those 2 slot receivers and all that stuff. So
yeah. So I don't think that – I don't know, man. Like, I really want to hold out hope for Cameron Latu just because of where he was drafted, but I feel like he's in the doghouse. And if he doesn't have like a really, really, really impressive camp, I think that it's going to be a wrap for him. He might go somewhere else. You know, I think you mentioned he reminded you of Vance McDonald a little bit.
Yeah, he kind of reminds me of Vance McDonald because he was more of a project. It took him some time to develop, and he just couldn't catch the ball to save his life. But once he had a fresh start to play in Pittsburgh, he looked like a complete different player. But
is he somebody you think that could be stashed on the practice squad?
The problem is, if we stash him on the practice squad, I think a team's going to be taking a flyer on this kid. So I don't know. I think you can take
even with all the drops and everything, that he doesn't have any kind of tape outside of his college tape at Alabama.
But some teams like to take that chance. They see potential, so they're going to roll that dice. If you put him in the practice squad, you have a 50-50 chance of keeping this guy on the roster.
The caveat there is that they got to put him on their 53. Right. They're saying you are good enough. You're not a project anymore. You're good enough to make our 53.
Like the way how they look at him. Okay. Like, I think when they look at his college tape, they're going to like think, well, maybe he just wasn't a fit with the Niners. So maybe we can stash him on our roster, maybe be our number 3 tight end, maybe slowly push him into number 2.
Yeah. And coaches always think they can fix players. So
that's how they always look at it. But I think like you said, where he was drafted at, that's how some teams would want to take chances on that.
Yeah. Yeah, so
there's potential. There's definitely potential with Latu because he switched from linebacker to tight end, and he does have that big body traits that you want at tight end. Hard to tackle too.
Yeah. So, Chris Saubert, I got him penciled in gray because I just really wasn't sure. Like, I think they want to hold on to Mason Pline, but if Saubert's your only blocking tight end, and you're only going to keep 3 tight ends, how does he fit in with Logan Thomas and Braden Willis? Does Saubert make it over Willis? I don't know.
I don't even
Does
think
Saubert make it over Logan Thomas, who had like 600 yards receiving last year. I don't.
I think he would be the number 4 tight end. I think Sauber, the one thing that gives him a chance to make this roster is we do tend to keep 4 tight ends. So Sauber
says this. I wouldn't be surprised if Logan Thomas doesn't make the team. We gave him $300K signing bonus, but his contract isn't guaranteed. So that's actually a good point.
He's betting himself.
But the thing is like he does have the receiving production. So like, I don't know. You got to take that into consideration. It's all going to play itself out. These are all just, we're talking about the potential camp battles, but it's all going to work itself out when these guys actually get going. So moving on to offensive line, unless you have anything more with the tight ends, do you have any thoughts about Pline or?
Mason Pline, I think he's just a project, bro. Like I just don't see, I mean, don't get me wrong. I like the kid. I actually had him interviewed like a month before the draft, and this guy he's a late bloomer because he did basketball in college, and he was like a guy. Yeah, he's a late bloomer. That's how I look at him. So I think if you stash him for next year for this practice squad, I don't think a team's gonna snag him unless they're that desperate to get a guy like him. But I think he would be somebody that might need another year to develop, and then maybe by next year he makes our roster.
Yeah, definitely. So I think that, practice squad developmental spot is where I have him. I think that's probably the most likely since he's a rookie. But I think year 2 he could really
he can make a push. He can make a strong case. He can improve his muscle building a little more. He can get a little faster, do a little more better on the routes and the offseason, all that stuff. But we all know what Jake Tongues is. He's probably just one of them camp bodies. I don't know. Maybe he's lucky to be on our practice squad, but I don't know if he'll even make the roster.
So starting offensive line, I have Trent, Banks. I do have Bart starting the season as the starting center because Brendel is going on the PUP, by the way, because I think you didn't hear that yet, but he's going on the PUP, Feliciano, and then McKivitz. Feliciano, I think, is the only one there that could actually lose that spot. I don't think that McKivitz is going to lose that right tackle spot to anybody.
Nah, they seem too high on McKivitz. And plus, he was on that commercial endorsement with John Deere with Brock Purdy. So I think
I think that they think that it's arrow up with him. I think Purdy likes him on his right side for whatever reason. So, but, I keep saying this because I think Spencer Burford's pretty athletic and he has long arms. And I'm like, why don't we ever try Burford as right tackle? I keep thinking that for some reason. Maybe I'm wrong, but like I keep feeling like Burford could be a tackle in the NFL, and maybe he's the answer there. But
they keep saying his arms are part of the reason he doesn't have the long arms or something like that.
I thought he did have long arms. What is his arm?
No, but he needs to add a little more weight for
maybe.
Because I mean I've interviewed Burford. He told me that he can play. He said he can play both sides if he wanted to. Like he can play the tackle spot if they ask him to, but guard is mostly where they projected him to be. I mean, I like to see what Burford could be at tackle. I wouldn't mind that. And plus, I'm all in for this guy to play tackle at least. Maybe that might be better for him.
If Brendel isn't ready by week 1, say Brendel's out for 4 to 6 weeks and he just goes on the PUP, the PUP. But is Barch and Nugent? I mean, is that enough? Is that it? Like, do you feel good about that, or does Feliciano maybe take emergency snaps at center? But I'm pretty sure Barch. I think Barch will do well.
I think Barch has the versatility to play that spot, but I think if you wanted to go with somebody with savvy experience, of course, Feliciano would probably be your safer bet because you want to at least. But Barch might have better potential because he's younger, and it's not. I guess he was coming off a serious injury, and I think he's coming back to the form like he was at Jacksonville. So maybe there's a steal with Barch.
Yeah, no, I agree there. I think 1 year removed from that injury, I would really like to see him step up on that interior line and take a spot, And then the other thing is like Banks is only under contract for 1 more year. Are they going to just push Dominic Pooney in there?
That's the hardest question, dude. That's going to be the most interesting question. Do we even plan on retaining Banks? Which I think we should, because outside of him, who else is going to be dependable besides Trent Williams? I think Banks has shown that he can be the guy. Maybe he might take a discount because he knows it's close to home. Maybe he'd be willing to do that. But Dominic Puny, I think he's just the plan to replace Banks. Personally, I think that's what's going to happen because Puny's going to have enough experience to learn. I don't think he's going to start right away, but I think he's going to benefit by learning just how Banks did. I think this is how they look at it. They're looking at like the Banks situation because remember, Laken Tomlinson was entering a contract year. And we got Banks off the second round. Everybody was thinking he would make the starting role, but not the case. He took a year to learn, and he bulked up the off season and got better.
There's going to be so many people to have to pay next year.
Yep.
And it's like, Greenlaw, Hufanga, you've got all the, Banks is going to be a guy, Lenore. Like there's so many guys that are, and Purdy, obviously the big one. Like, how are they going to do this? Like, I just don't like some of these guys are going to have to go. And I think Banks could be a casualty. I think even we haven't got there yet, but I think even Greenlaw, a linebacker coming off an Achilles, that ended Bowman's career. Maybe he's out of there. So I don't know. And then, Tommy just brought this up. So like left tackle.
That's what I'm hoping for. We plan on the future. Hopefully we get one in the draft.
Maybe the draft next year. But if Trent stays this year and next year and that's it, then you have to draft your left tackle of the future.
At least think ahead.
Yeah, you have to do it because then he's going to you have to groom him like Trent Williams is going to be the best guy to like help a guy do that. But, I don't know.
Yeah, that's true. It's a good point. Like, I just think that's what's happening, bro. I think that's the one thing we failed to do all offseason was to get somebody to eventually replace Trent. Like, I know Trent wants to probably play for maybe a year or two, but you got to get somebody after Trent, bro. So that's the problem. Hopefully by next year we get somebody.
Yeah, and then there's also free agency. I haven't looked at the free agent list for 2025, so maybe there's some guy in there that you feel good about, and you sign him as your big free agent to protect Purdy's blind side.
Yeah, you want to protect your asset, of course, yeah.
So maybe free agency, maybe the draft, but they got to start thinking about it.
Yeah, but if you look at the rest of our depth charts with the offensive line, like, okay, Jalen Moore, he's an average backup. I think he's good as gone for next year. I don't think we have plans to keep this guy. Sebastian seems like a project because he's an international project. I think Jared Kingston's more of a project. Maybe he might develop into maybe next year he might even be our starting center. Who knows, bro? Sometimes you got to give him a year to adapt to this type of NFL level. I think Kingston's one of the most overachieving offensive linemen that nobody talks about.
Yeah, and that's why I think a practice squad spot would be good for him this year. And then, Drake Nugent is the other guy.
Michigan undersized, but he's effective. Yeah, he's good.
So I don't, I think with Brendel on the PUP, if he starts the year at PUP, I think Nugent is going to be on the 53 potentially, which kind of worries me. And then you have to keep a guy like Mays, or maybe they move Zakello in there. Nick, Brock Purdy's former roommate. Maybe he gets some snaps at center. I don't know.
Zakello just hasn't really panned out as we hoped for. I mean, I don't know.
I've got him as a cut candidate. I've got him not making it, but
maybe practice squad, but I don't know.
And then we got Burford, who we hope can get back in there. Like, I want to see him redeem himself, kind of in a way.
I do.
Me too. Like that Chris Jones thing was a complete debacle in the Super Bowl, but maybe he can bounce back and be a quality, right guard and he's always been pretty good in the run game.
Yeah, he just had a sophomore slump the way I look at it, and he's a good person. Just from the conversation I've had with this kid, and just be months.
Right. Yeah, you've interviewed him, huh?
Yeah, just months before the draft, I just liked his character, and I thought this guy would be a great fit. But I didn't think for 1 minute we would get this guy in the fourth round or anywhere there, So I was shocked for a moment, damn, did we just get this guy? And I guess I kind of went deep into my homework. I said Niners do want versatile players, and he fit the bill pretty well.
Yeah, and then they brought, free agent Chris Hubbard, which I think is a pretty solid guy, and he could actually push McKivitz. I think
he could, but if you want somebody to actually push McKivitz, it would be David Bakhtiari. That would be the obvious, even though he's older. But you still get,
and he can't. And health has kind of always been a little bit of a concern with him, I think.
But a change of scenery and going back to his home state, it'd probably be good for him.
Yeah, it's possible. And then Brandon Parker was another free agent acquisition. I don't think he makes a team.
Man.
Alarcon.
I've heard a lot of bad things from what the Raider Nation have told me. They said that dude is trash. Like if you thought McGlinchey or McKivitz are that bad of an offensive tackle from other people's perspective, you ain't seen what Brandon Parker is as a tackle.
Yeah, and that's why I have
a
him
6'8", a 6'8" dummy, bro. That's all I could say.
Yeah. I've actually, I don't see him making this squad personally. But
hopefully not in the practice squad either. Right? Get him out of here.
Oh, look, Grandizer's in here. What's up, Grandizer?
Yeah, he's a good guy, man. But
yeah. All right, so let's move on to the defense. Unless you have any more thoughts about the offense.
Nah, I don't got much to say about the offense. I think we covered everything right there. Defense, Nick Bosa, yeah, I think it's pretty obvious. I think he'll be Defensive Player of the Year this upcoming season. Yelter, Gross, Matus, I think he's probably going to be the most intriguing guy that's behind Bosa. I think he gives me that Charles Omenihu vibes a little bit. Like
yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. I've kind of thought like maybe they'll use him similar to that how they wanted to use Armstead,
like rush inside or something like that,
or outside, do the stunt stuff because he's pretty athletic.
Yeah,
maybe some package plays for him, and maybe you bring Floyd off and put him on the other side here and there.
Yeah, he's good against the run too, which is a plus, which I like about this pickup. Yeah. It's probably like the one guy that really isn't like maybe the stats won't say it, but he is a good run stopper.
Yeah, and I think it'll be contingent, right? Like if they're on the strong side of the field or the weak side of the field, and they think that the ball is going to go one way or the other, maybe they'll put him in on some of those like strong side plays and have Bosa, on the other side because Bosa's a really good run stopper. Bosa's good at everything, really. So you'll have that. And then, moving to the interior line, I think this has been the biggest question mark of anything, I think, because we couldn't stop the rush. Part of that was due to Wilkes. Part of that was due to because we didn't have the guys that could do it. And I don't think that Hargrave, even though he said he's working at it, and Collins as well, was not very good at the rush defense. Those two guys are a little bit concerning there. They're projected to be the interior starters, but what do you think?
I think that's going to be the question mark is our run defense. I think, can it make the huge improvements? I think possibly maybe this is Hargrave redeeming himself this year because he knew he kind of criticized himself from what he did last year. He thinks he can do better. I'm hoping that's the case.
He's been in the league for a lot of years, though, and he hasn't become a great rush defender, And
maybe that's where he's gonna have to work at. He's gonna have to I think he's trying to work on that area the most, which we know that's one of his weakest spots. But Kevin Givens, we already know what he's all about. We know he's like a rotational. He can be a nice solid rotation. Kalia Davis, it's like we've kind of like rolled the dice. This kid can never stay healthy. But outside of that Jalen Hurts sack, that's all we could talk about with Kalia Davis, bro. Yeah.
He's top heavy. It doesn't seem like he has a lot of lower body strength.
But he was intriguing. He was intriguing coming out of college. He was coming from being a linebacker to being a D tackle, bro, which is a very unique skill set. But
I've seen a lot of people say Shaquille Brown is a wild card.
Oh, bro. You know what? Since you're talking about Shaquille Brown, bro, I can go on with this guy. I interviewed him probably like a few weeks before the draft. He met with the Niners, and he told me from meeting with the Niners, he wanted to go over there. He told me he said if he had to choose what team he wanted to go to, he told me he wanted to go to San Francisco because he liked the D-line coach. I think this might be the sleeper. Don't be surprised if Shaquille beats out Davis. I think that's my hot take. I think Davis is going to get beat out.
I think the guy who I think has the best chance of run stopping, and I'm really actually hoping that he could emerge into a potential first and second down role to stop the run, is Evan Anderson. Ooh. I think he's got size. I think he's got athleticism.
Big body too.
He could jet blocks. He could clog, A gaps, B gaps, all those interior runs. I think he could really clog it up there with his size, and he shed some weight. So I think he's going to be even more athletic. And so that's a guy that I think could leapfrog Jordan Elliott, who was a free agent acquisition, as we all know. So I think that's a possibility, and that's why I have him ahead of him.
But I think the problem is I think Anderson has to have a really good preseason. I do like that he seems like a good run stopper, but I think Jordan Elliott's probably going to get that role because they paid this guy, and I think they like what they see from Elliott. But I think for sleepers, okay, I think the one guy who actually, like, if I had to choose a player that you probably would be shocked of making the roster, I'm gonna go on a hot take and say Shaquille Brown will make the roster.
Okay.
I think he can showcase what he is. What he did in
Yeah.
Tennessee
No,
was he was injured. He could have made the Titans roster, but he was injured. So
yeah, I respect that take. I'm gonna look at this one since it's defensive line related. Grandizer just put up if there was a team that YGM could go to develop, it's the 49ers. You struggle with the Panthers early years, but that could be coaching. And I actually agree with that.
yeah, 100%. Like,
With Chris Kasarik being the defensive line coach, the sky's the limit, right?
yeah, Chris Kasarik just has some type of magic into making talent making like less. I mean, like guys with potential into something special. Like Arden Key's a good example. Look where he's at. You look at Charles Menahu. He's been pretty solid. I mean, I guess you can say the guy we had last year.
He went to the Chiefs, correct?
He went to the Chiefs, but Clelin Ferrell kind of turned out okay. He got an opportunity, but I look at it this way, man. Like, yeah, I think that's the unique part. I think Yoda Gross Models has potential to be a really good. I think he might be like the ceiling would be Charles Menahu because Menahu didn't showcase much in Houston like what he was.
Yeah. Well, I could see that. Yeah, I think there's a lot of possibilities. I don't know much about this Sam Okuaino. I don't even know how to say his last name. I'm not really sure where that guy is. I know he's on the roster, but I'm not. Do you know anything about that guy?
What, the one on our roster or what?
Yeah, the Sam Oku behind Austin Bryant. I have him there on the list.
Oh, behind. Oh, wow, bro. Like, I didn't even know about this guy. I think he's probably one of them camp bodies, bro.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too. So I don't know. You never know, right?
Never know. He might surprise people, but I think Shaquille Brown will surprise you.
Can you even try? Can you make an attempt to say that last name? I can't even.
I can't even say it, but hey, sometimes the names you can't pronounce right, they might even make the roster too. I'm not trying to sound like messed up in a way, but it just seems like the way he said it.
How are the now? Like, imagine Greg Papa trying to announce that, guys.
Touchdown,
Sam.
Right, over body with the fumble recover for a touchdown.
Yeah, no, that ain't gonna happen. All right, let's move on to linebackers. Let's keep this thing rolling. Actually, we didn't even go.
We haven't even got Collins. We haven't covered Collins, Drake Jackson, the other guys. So
yeah.
I think Malik Collins is gonna probably. So I'm gonna go on a hot take. I'm gonna say Malik Collins is gonna have a breakout year, and I think he's gonna earn himself a contract to stick around here. I think he's gonna showcase why he's a better choice over Armstead.
I was surprised that Drake Jackson didn't start on the PUP.
Yeah, this is the part interesting take I'm going to say.
Does that mean he's healthy? Does that mean he's healthy?
He's probably going to be healthy, but I'm going to go on a hot take and say that Robert Beal is going to overtake. He's going to overtake Drake Jackson. Unfortunately,
I don't even think that's a hot take. I think that's very realistic. I actually agree with you. I love Robert Beal. Like, going back watching his stuff at Georgia, like, freaking dog.
He seems like a guy that can be an overachiever too. So,
and he's actually pretty decent against the run. So I think that bodes well for him. And I think in year 2 he's going to have a really big jump. And if he can stay healthy, Drake Jackson's going to be on the roster, I think. But how much playing time is he going to get? I don't know.
It's just that they just don't seem him. They don't seem too impressed with him at this point.
After that Steelers game, that 3-sack game that he had, like, he just disappeared. Like, and then he got injured.
Oh, I like this question by Granddad. We need to answer this one, by the way.
Okay, I'll bring it up.
So, CG and Drew, which 400 players that we see here on this list had the most to prove that player had to have a good camp to stay with the Niners? So, which player has to prove something on this list that we have on this depth chart?
Defense or just in general?
I guess we can pick both sides. We can pick both sides.
Yeah.
All right.
I was just trying to keep the 49ers Q&A till the end like we normally do, but that's fine. Let's get this one in. Come on.
Okay. Just for somebody that has to prove something to stick around the roster, I think Jordan Mason has to prove something. I think on offense, Jordan Mason has to step his game up. He has to do better as a pass blocker if he wants to make this roster. No offense, he is a good physical runner, but pass blocking is something we value the most. So I'm going to say Jordan Mason. I like Jordan Mason, but it could be him possibly out of the roster, which could be unfortunately. That could be the shocker. Let's see.
Since
Drake Jackson has to on defense. Drake Jackson.
Well, I was just going to say, yeah. Since go ahead. You do one defense, one offense. I'll do one defense, one offense, and we'll move on.
Yeah. Okay.
You said
Drake Jackson has to prove something, dude. Like I've seen the last couple of years, he just hasn't shown it. And I think this can be this has to be the year he has to showcase it. Yeah, he can be a lock for the roster, but he has to prove something, dude. Like, okay, you've averaged 3 sacks the last 2 seasons, dude. We got to see something better. And no offense to his dad, I have had conversations with him. He's a cool dude, but man, come on, man, you got to do you got to step it up a little better, Drake Jackson.
Yeah, I'm gonna do one lukewarm take and one hot take that might not sit well with a lot of people. So on offense, for me, I think it's going to be this is probably going to shock some people, but I think it's going to be Ronnie Bell. I don't think maybe not shock people, but I think Ronnie Bell, because the wide receiver room is so crowded, he's really going to have to do something extremely impressive because he's good at catching the ball. He's just not good at running after the catch. So his yak ability leaves a lot left on the table. And if anybody else can do it, if even Trent Taylor or somebody like that can do it, like Bell could be out of here, right? Like Kittle and Trent Taylor, like quality time with those guys, like that's Kittle's boy. And if Trent Taylor can maybe show that he has yak ability, which he actually has probably not had a whole lot of yak ability in his career, but he was very automatic with the third down stuff. So if you have 3rd and Juwan and Trent Taylor, if Trent Taylor can get back to like year 2, year 3 type of Trent Taylor, you got 2 guys now, 2 options for Purdy on 3rd down.
That's awesome.
So Ronnie Bell for me on offense, and on defense, probably going to be Darrell Luter Jr.
Okay.
I think that because the whole Super Bowl thing, the debacle, the almost semi Kyle Williams type play that happened there, I think the Niners have that in the back of their mind. And if he doesn't like ball out like on defense and special teams, because he's probably going to be a special teamer on punts at least. And I think that Darrell Luter Jr. is the other guy. Samuel Womack or Luter, both those guys have to show out this preseason, this training camp. So
yeah, I think if we're looking at realistic guys who are going to be cut, the way I look at it, this would probably be an obvious choice. I know this is definitely going to be a lock. I don't see no chance in the Vince McMahon term, no chance in hell that this guy makes this team. I mean, Ambry Thomas I think he's gone. No offense. It's just too locked.
I've already, even you could see there, I've got him gone. So
yeah, it's like the chances from him last year were good, but this year it's really going to stack really bad. Like
year one, doghouse. Year 2, doghouse. Steve Wilkes brought him out of the doghouse, gave him some chances. He was
up and down that year, up and down.
Is a good way to put it. And now this year, it's like do or die, sink or swim.
Yeah, like you look at the
probably going to go to the Rams or the Seahawks, probably.
Yeah, but if you look at the competition, it's a lot deeper than it's been last year. Like we just drafted Ronaldo Green, which he can potentially. I think he might potentially make a case to be a starter late in the season. Who knows? But we just got Isaac Yadakam, who could possibly,
and Rocky Sin, Chase Lucas.
It's gonna be a log jam. And Darrell Luter, they really like Darrell Luter more. And Sam Womack, between him and Womack, they might have to compete for that last spot.
That's what I think. And I love Luter's. The reason I have Luter ahead of Womack, I love Womack's tenacity and his dog. He plays with physicality. He's good against I like that. But I think Luter does too. That's why he's on special teams. And Luter, before he got injured, a lot of people don't know this. Some people do, but before he got injured, when he was in college, he was starting to gain some momentum, some steam to be a first-round pick. So this guy's got first-round potential. And if he can stay healthy and get in there and just show people he's a dog on defense, not just special teams, I think that's going to bode well for Luter Jr.
Yeah. But since we already so we look at the rest of the roster. Okay, Leonard Floyd, we brought him in because of what he is as a pass rusher. He could be the difference maker for the opposite of Bosa. So maybe this is what we're missing.
Yeah. And I really don't have anything else defensive line wise. The only thing I'll say about Leonard Floyd is I get concerned because it's an 18-week season. We don't have 2 buys. How's he going to look in January and February and all that. Like it's contingent, obviously, like on resting him and getting a rotation. So I think it's really key that Drake Jackson and Robert Beal
have to develop and showcase what they can be. So it's like
they
have to show it. Like if they can show some dependability, they can easily like give Floyd like some manageable snaps and make sure that the other players are fresher and they keep the guys healthy as possible.
Yeah. I agree. You want to move on to linebackers? This is going to be another interesting one because Greenlaw's starting on the PUP. That's why I got him there in the blue. All three of these guys that are in blue are PUP. So that was announced today.
So all the list, okay. I've heard a lot of buzz about D. Winters. This guy, if Fred Warner said something about him, then you know it's something positive to say about this guy. This guy's got speed at linebacker, undersized, but plays the game of football the right way. He could be somebody that can surprise you. I mean, Drake Greenlaw's coming off the PUP. Fred Warner, our leader, of course. My most favorite linebacker outside of Drake Greenlaw is Jalen Graham. I just think he's really got some raw potential to really be really good. But this year's linebacker is pretty deep. DeAndre Campbell, he's coming off of a Green Bay defense that wasn't all that great, but he was good. He was good a couple seasons ago. But
actually in that Green Bay game, I don't know. I was watching The Receiver on Netflix or whatever, and I noticed that he was the guy who kind of spun Debo around in that Green Bay game. And then the defensive back hit him right in that shoulder and jammed him up and took him out of the game. So Devondre Campbell was part of that play that messed Debo up for that divisional game. But yeah, I think that, he's 1 year removed from being an All-Pro, but he's an older player.
He's got experience. He's got plenty of experience, and he knows what this type of defense that's run by Shanahan, because I think he was in Atlanta with Shanahan too.
Yeah. I think the biggest concern with Campbell is like he's not going to have to do a whole lot of coverage stuff as a Sam linebacker, but that if you get a speedy running back, if you get like a Bijan Robinson or somebody that's got a lot of speed out of the backfield, even like the Rams have Blake Corum, like if you get a guy like that, I think they can exploit him a little bit.
A little bit of what he is. He's more of he can do coverage at times, but he's more of a tradition. He's more of
that's also contingent on like Hufanga. If Hufanga's back week 1, like he's going to start in the PUP. This is another thing. I don't know if these guys were placed on PUP before training camp, the actual training camp date today. If they were placed on PUP before that, they can come back at any time.
Anytime, yes.
So I don't. But if they're not, if they're after, I think it's that 6 week or 4 to 6 week rule. So I don't.
Yeah, I think they're clear. I think they're clear. I think they could be clear after the 4th game of the season.
Yeah. Okay. So they moved it
4 to 6. 4 to 6. Yeah.
Used to be 6. So but I heard 4 today. So I'm not really sure about that. I'll have to look it up.
It could be 4 from what I'm looking at, because after the 4th game, it's the week 5 of the season. They could be clear.
But if you have a strong safety like Hufanga in the game that's very instinctual, he can make up for Campbell's. In the past game, he can make up for that difference.
So I guess looking at what 49er Media just said, he just said Jake Brendel is good to go. So is that an update that's been posted recently?
It could be. I don't know, but
I don't know. But he would know. He would know.
They didn't say that today in the presser. They said that the 3 guys starting on PUP were Jake Brendel, Greenlaw, and Hufanga. So I don't know if
maybe the next day.
Maybe that is the thing. Maybe they put him on before training camp. So maybe they're like, okay, he's going to go. Maybe like Ricky Pearsall, they're going to say block 2, put Brendel in. But I know that he wasn't good for OTAs. So
it's possible what that could be too. So So looking at the rest of our linebackers, we know what Flanagan Fells. He's been a real reliable special teams backup linebacker. You look at
he did say that they did. Brendel was one of them. So before PUP, I'm guessing he's saying that. So.
They did. Brendel wasn't one of them. Okay, I guess they.
I still think they need to take it easy with him because that patella tendonitis or whatever the hell he had is.
So he correct the list. So it was Ricky, it was Drake Jackson, it was Greenlaw, and Hufanga on PUP. So it happens, bro. We get it all mixed in. But
so moving on.
Yeah, looking at the rest of the guys, we know what Ezekiel Turner, his special teams. Robinson, I don't think he makes the roster. Bethune could be part of the most intriguing prospect. He might even make the roster at.
Sorry about that. If you can, you hear my dogs are going nuts right now. So
my bad. But
no, my bad. He's got a giant Rottweiler. If somebody walks by the window, he goes a little bit nuts.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry about that.
Yeah, we've been going on for a while. We'll cover the cornerbacks, the safety, all that. We'll go there quickly. Travarius Ward's on a contract here. I think he's going to break out. Having a backup like Rocky Sin could be solid. He kind of has potential. He just never was able to stay healthy from the previous years, from what I was told, because he was with the Colts and they liked him in Indianapolis. The Raiders thought he was going to be good.
And then the Ravens. Yeah.
So there is potential if he's healthy, which I've heard good things. Abry Thomas, I think he's a cut. Yeah, he's a cut. Isaac Yadakam, there's something that I've heard a good buzz about. Even from halfway to the season with the Saints, he broke out. He could be a sleeper. Daryl Luter, we're talking about as a sleeper, right? For sure. Womack, I think him and Thomas are probably on the chopping block. They're gone or be traded. So Lenore is definitely going to have something to prove this year. He's on a contract here. I think the Niners would be smart to retain him. I would think they would don't let him go.
Let me stop you just real quick there. If Lenore, okay, let's say Yadam is leaving a lot left to be desired, but Renardo Green, a rookie, is balling out. Do you think that he gets into that starting role either on the outside or inside? And he also has safety versatility. He's played every secondary position. He's a lot like Jimmy Ward.
Yeah, I think if injuries happen, they can move him around a little bit more than those other players.
Yeah, he's got linebackers interesting because he doesn't know if Bethune makes it. I think Bethune's going to stick around on the practice squad. If Greenlaw's out, Bethune gets bumped up. Maybe he gets bumped back. I think this guy, he's a thumper. Like he just destroyed Jaden Daniels when they played LSU. So
I think what can really happen is that what if Bethune has a great preseason? There's going to probably be a team wanting to take a chance on that.
Maybe. That Florida State defense was loaded. Yeah. I mean, they had Jared Verse, they had Fisk, they had Renardo Green, they had Bethune. Their entire defense got drafted into the NFC West, but just about. So
yeah,
they have a lot of NFL talent on that defense. So
yeah, they had the other cornerback that was drafted by the Jags too. He was good too. But yeah, there's a lot to like about these secondaries. Then you look at the rest of our safeties. Okay, Hufanga, when healthy, he's good. But I guess Malik Mustafa, man, this man he's built like DK Metcalf or what you said, Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah, he's huge. He's a
bro. He just looks like a WWE wrestler,
like Bo Jackson, kind of like that build of Bo Jackson. He's just huge.
Or WWE
the thing is like I think he's going to be in more of a hybrid role. I think they're going to move him kind of around, and maybe if Fong is not ready for the first 4 weeks, then he does get an opportunity since we only play like the Jets, the Vikings, and then I think it's like the Rams and Patriots or something like that. So I don't think the first 4 games is not like that's when you want your rookies to get that experience against lesser level teams, right? Like you want them to gain that confidence and get that experience, and you can hide a lot of their flaws. So maybe Mustafa gets in there, but I do personally, I'm going to stick to my guns on this. If they did put Hufanga on the PUP before training camp, I do have to find that out because obviously I'll be wrong if they did it afterwards. But I think
it's a little misunderstand what they put out there. So
I think Hufanga is going to be ready week 1, whether he plays or not. Who knows?
I think it's possible, but I think it wouldn't surprise me if they don't play him at week 1. Maybe they play it safe until the following week.
Yeah, maybe they do put him on the PUP and he doesn't come back till week 5, and that's fine.
Yeah, and maybe you get to see what Malik Mustafa is made for.
Right. Yeah, and we're going to find out real quick if he's either Taylor Mays or if he's Ronnie Lott, right? Like we're going to find out if he's the guy or he's just a specimen that looks like the guy. I don't know.
Yeah, Jair Brown, we know he had a pretty solid rookie season, I'm going to lie. George Odom, we know what he is as a special teamers. Jalen McMahoney and Eric.
I really like him out of Vanderbilt. I actually think that this guy has got some promise. I like him. I like him over Taylor Hawkins.
But Hawkins kind of has the knack for the ball when given the opportunity. He seems pretty raw. He just got to stay healthy. I don't know. I love Mahoney's college tape. I think he's got great instinct. I think he's got good range. There's a lot to like about him. So we'll see. Again, don't know. This is just a guess.
But
yeah, it's a good guess, and I think there's a lot of good. I think the safety depth is pretty promising. You look at the rest of our secondary; it's promising. Linebacker, it could be questioned depending on how Greenlaw comes back, but I think outside of the weakest spot, I think it's just the offensive line how I look at it. But
I don't think any of these three have any competition. Moody, Wish,
nah,
and Tabor, those
lock.
are the three guys. And then kick return, I do think we've agreed on this. Garendo.
Yes.
And then punt return, 49ers media guy, Cowing could be a punt returner. I think.
Yeah,
I would not mind seeing him as a punt returner.
he's very
But
quick.
I got Ronnie Bell just because Ronnie Bell's, unless Trent Taylor de-seats him, then it's going to be Trent Taylor. But
yeah, that would be a shocker. But I think we pretty much covered everything.
Yeah, absolutely. We can open it up for a Q&A, but I don't think there's a whole lot of people left in the chat. We had a bunch earlier. There's quite a few people in here, but if anybody has any questions, any last-minute questions, go ahead and drop them. If not, we are going to sign out. Sounds like I need to go downstairs and show my dogs out.
Yeah, I guess we'll see what a couple questions is, but will it be interesting if we keep 5 or 6 receivers? I think it will be interesting. Maybe we might even keep a 7 receiver. Who knows?
I think we're going to use that practice squad to our advantage, but I do think that game day roster, the season ended, there were 6 receivers, 6 receivers through most of it, so I'm going 6. I got less running backs because I think that the Niners are going to try to open up the passing game. I think receivers are a little bit more important in the offense in 2024. Grandizer says, thanks, guys. Have a good week. You too, man. Thank you for stopping by. Appreciate you.
I love this question by media. We'll answer this one. So maybe one more question.
This is the last one. Yeah,
make it the last one. Okay, what do you guys think happens with tight end? Okay, so me and Drew.
You might have missed. You might have came in late. We did that one.
Yeah, you might miss this one, but I think Braden Willis is going to be the number 2 tight end.
Yeah, I agree with that. Logan Thomas, better receiving tight end.
Maybe number 3.
I think actually between Chris Saubert and Logan Thomas, I think that's kind of going to be the battle there because Logan Thomas is a receiving tight end and Chris Saubert is a blocking tight end. So I think they're going to say, which one do we value more? And I think that's why I have Saubert in as a grayed out guy. I think Saubert's going to take over for Logan Thomas. I think Saubert's got a better blocker than Logan. But if Logan can show that he can block, I think we keep Logan. So
but I think you can still find a way to stash Logan into the practice squad because he's a little bit older.
Yeah, maybe he could be a vet like a Chris Connolly type of situation. Maybe we'll see. But tight end was the trickiest position for me to put this together. I had a really hard time doing it because you have to try to say, like, how do we take Kittle out of blocking so much and make him more of like a Travis Kelce? More of a weapon because he's getting old and you don't want to bang him up. You don't want him being a banger.
It's an interesting, challenging issue. It's because we try to make him too much of a lineman when he should be more of a receiving tight end. But I'll answer this last question for Grandizer. Any hot takes this week for the 49ers from you two? All right, my hot take is going to be pretty simple. I am going to say I think during this week, I think a Brandon Ayuk contract will get done either by this week or 2.
Well, yeah, and this isn't a hot take for me, but it's just more of a prediction. I think August 15th is the magical date. I think Brandon Ayuk gets signed August 15th. Lock that in your memories. You heard it here first. I'm saying August 15th. August 15th.
And I think the number, and I know outside of the Braden Willis topic, I think he will be the number 2 tight end. So I don't want to go too far. I'm gonna go on a limb and say, man, we might be able to see what Grando is. I want to see what this kid's all about.
Yeah, I can't wait to see the pads go on. That's for sure.
I want to see how he translates that speed because we see a little bit of that Mostert.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think that is a wrap. Go ahead and chug and take us out, and we'll see you guys next time.
Woo! Let's go Niners.